What is this chunk of thing?
What if it's just plastic?
This is my sub-series and Full Dark sub-series. What is this thing? This thing appears to be a mushroom of some type.
Oh.
Yep. Ooh, it's gooey and weird. That's some sort of tree stump mushroom. That's what I think this thing is.
Good job.
Gotcha. We'll see you next time on What Is This Thing? Ooh, what is this thing? I'm just kidding.
Jesus Christ. On this episode of Eerie, New England, we're going back in time, decade after decade, to visit the legends and lore of creepy Connecticut. Our first stop takes us from home in upstate New York to the infamous Newtown Cemetery of 괶ᴜ, Connecticut. But is it really all that creepy? Or does it come down to how we tell the stories of these places that intrigue us? Let's change the vibe a little. This cemetery was established in 1790, and many of the 괶ᴜ area citizens who supported independence from the British during the Revolutionary War are buried here. Many people, of course, consider it also to be haunted.
Some beautiful wildflowers in here. You can make a hell of a bouquet. Got some blues, some yellows over there. These are great stones. Finger pointing up at God.
This is due mostly to Ed and Lorraine Warren, who declared the cemetery to be, quote, officially haunted, end quote. Whatever that might mean to them may not mean the same thing to you or I, but apparently there is phenomenon that has been reported there, including children's laughter and music that begins in the surrounding woods and comes closer and closer to a person until it seems like it's inside the cemetery.
I'm always scared now, thanks to John Tenney. Stepping and falling into a grave. I don't want to do that. Thanks, John Tenney. But I guess I could see how it could happen. I don't know. You belong among the wildflowers. You belong in a boat out at sea, far away, and kill off the hours. Franklin Gunn. We're in Newtown Cemetery and we found Franklin Gunn. I would imagine the guns were significant in this area. Obama. It says Obama. Nathan Nichols. Phoebe Osborne. Ransom Gunn. What a name. Oh, she found something in the woods, folks. Oh, there's a chain hanging over this one. So like a rosary or something? No.
That is a wallet chain.
It's another Obama. Obama gun.
Obama.
Obama. It's interesting. I wonder where Obama
I've never heard that.
comes from. Me neither. It's interesting. It says 1790. Where's the 1700s graves? Because there has to be at least a couple.
These people were born in the 70s.
But you don't start a cemetery unless someone dies, correct?
Just hold off for a minute. Yeah, it's got to be probably this
That
back
one looks
wall.
pretty,
The thing
pretty
is, back here,
period.
the dates are.
I can't read them
We got
very well.
1848.
If you want your stone to lean, you want it to lean forward, not back. If it leans back, you lose all the, what? Magic is real?
It's sparkly.
Wow. So there's ghost stories attached to this
Yeah,
place?
this one has some ghost stories. every cemetery that's been around longer than 150 years seems to have ghost stories. And I know it's a beautiful old one. You can tell by the old trees, and I love that. There's one there and there's one here.
Yeah, look at this one.
You got cemetery trees.
Look at that one, guys. I feel like cemetery trees contribute to the stories. If they have some creepy trees around them. Some old spindly winding ones.
Those trees have some stories to tell. It's hard to get trees to talk.
That one there is definitely an original tree. Look at that. Pretty cool.
There's another story about a solid black dog near the area that people feel, and some people take that as a bad omen. The sounds of footsteps of an animal or person running up on someone has also been reported. However the haunted activity of this place was described, we felt nothing of the sort while in this space. We wandered around and found several of the family members and descendants of the original family that settled the area and had a large sawmill. Some of the stones were clearly too far gone to read and had been there for centuries. But like any hallowed ground, it was, of course, peaceful in the springtime air and worth having a nice stroll around. And now we head to the infamous Union Cemetery in Easton, Connecticut.
We're here at Union Cemetery in Easton, Connecticut. This cemetery is purported to be haunted by, you guessed it, a white woman. Who she is, no idea. But we'll take you around and show you what's in here. I'm sure there's some great old stuff in here as far as headstones and artwork and such. So come along, here we go. What? Oh my God, guys, I am shaking right now. I am a huge fan of the blues and blues guitarists. And unbeknownst to me, right up here, I come across this grave that has tons of coins and stuff on it, and come to find out I'm standing at the grave of the one and only, the great Johnny Winter. So let's check that out. Sir, you were a master. Thank you for everything you did for music. Holy moly.
And there's no indication of music on his memorial, huh?
Nope, just a very modest stone.
Yeah.
Somebody left a harmonica there and I was like, oh,
In Easton, Connecticut sits another infamous and allegedly haunted cemetery. This one as well dates back to the 1700s. Many people have claimed, including of course Ed and Lorraine Warren, that this place is the most haunted cemetery in the United States. Their book, entitled Graveyard, goes into detail about the hauntings here, including the ever-popular White Lady, said to be seen roaming amongst the headstones. She's been described as wearing a diaphanous white nightgown or wedding dress. This ghostly woman in white is one that Ed Warren claimed to have actual video of. Another entity reported to be here is something called red eyes, something which watches you from the bushes but is only seen as a pair of glowing red eyes. There were two things we encountered in this cemetery: a man mowing the lawn, and of course Ryan's stunning surprise find.
So when I walked in here, I had no idea what I was about to find, and I had my hat in the truck. As you can see, I'm wearing a different hat, but I needed to get it because this is a monumental moment in my life, and wow, all I can say is wow. Right here we have the grave of one of the greatest blues guitarists to ever walk the earth, Mr. Johnny Winter. And a huge influence of mine, and I absolutely love his music and his playing, and it's just unbelievable that this just pops out at me. I had no idea. We're on a cemetery stroll for spooky stuff, but I found one of my all-time favorite players right here. I dug through all my stuff and I couldn't find anything to leave here, a pick or anything, and then right at the last moment something hits the ground after I dug through my whole bag. Oh, one pick. Carved, I don't know if you can see this or not. I wrote "Thanks Johnny" on there with my name and where I'm from. I'm gonna leave that here for the master. Thanks, pal. Thank you for everything. Pretty cool you're in a haunted cemetery. Oh, that's awesome. Never know what you're gonna find out in this place.
Now on to Evergreen Cemetery in New Haven, where a particularly dark grave and another surprising one are located. At high noon, just from and about to renew her daily work in her full strength of body and mind, Mary E. Hart, having fallen prostrate, remained unconscious until she died at midnight, October 15th, 1872. Hi there, friends. So this is the grave of Midnight Mary. I'm sure if you're into the paranormal, you might have heard of her. The story is really awful, like nightmare level awful, where at midnight, a woman named Mary Hart passed away just suddenly on the floor, and her family believed she was dead, so they went about with burying her. Her aunt apparently had nightmares of Mary not being actually dead, convinced the family to exhume the body, and when they opened the coffin, they found scratch marks in the ceiling of the coffin, and Mary's nails all busted up as though she were trying to dig out, as though she were not actually dead, but likely in a coma. But in the 1800s, we weren't really prepared to deal with comas. And so, Midnight Mary comes with a warning. The people shall be troubled at midnight and pass away. Don't come here at midnight. Midnight Mary. Is it haunted because we know of a tragedy, or is it haunted because things have actually happened? I think it's just a story like this, which is thankfully rare. We know the person, we know the grave, and we can see it now. That's the kind of physical situation that perpetuates legends, and that's how humans work, and how we pass stories, and how we recognize our fears and face our fears through these stories and telling them again.
What are we looking for now?
Well, the other thing about being in Connecticut is this is where Sarah Winchester is from. This is where she was born and raised and went to school before moving to California to build the Winchester Mystery House, which I don't think she called it the Mystery House when she built it, but probably not likely. But her and her husband are buried in this cemetery as well. I don't know if she hangs out with Midnight Mary, but it's a nice thought they have tea.
Let's go find him.
From the grave of one woman to the next within the same cemetery, both marked by tragic circumstances, all of which, though, leading to their eternal memory. This woman, Sarah, was so incredibly intelligent and an engineer, a prodigy of some of the most incredible minds of her time. And when she moved west, she bought a farmhouse and then expanded upon it. You know, we know the story. The ghosts of all the Winchester rifle victims would be haunting her forever. A psychic might have told her. I don't know how much a psychic did tell her or not. I wasn't there. But I know that the story's been really twisted, that she went crazy and built this house and just perpetually built. But I think what really happened was she was incredibly intelligent and had so much money that she could build this house. And there's so much symbolism in that home. The number 13, and it has to do with the teachings that she took on and that she studied and that she found faith, belief, and interest in to build that building, that structure. It's not really that she was crazy by any means. I think she was a little more lonely after losing family. And what do you do with that kind of fortune? Well, you do what you want to do. And in the time she lived, seances were far more normal. We live in a time where seances are normal, are we not? Sitting around a table with a Ouija board or with different types of divination tools. But it would have made her seem strange, especially after her life and through the mid-1900s she was talked about, and then the house was preserved and turned into the museum it is now. The stories just get out of hand. And it comes down to she was just way too smart for her time and had a lot of money, and it happened to come from a company that made weapons. And if anything, it's kind of cool that your house gets to be called the Mystery House. Of course, the story of a woman haunted until her death by the victims of her own husband's company's product would be a good ghost story. But it was in fact made up soon after the Winchester Mystery House became a tourist attraction within 5 months of Mrs. Winchester's death. And now a side quest from the main quest to Stepney Cemetery. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in
battle,
battle.
be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the divine power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who roam throughout the world, seeking the ruin of our souls. Amen. Grave of Ed and Lorraine Warren.
By all accounts, Lorraine was so nice.
Yep.
So kind. Ed, we didn't really get to see him
Not in the modern
afterwards.
sense.
Yeah. After the onslaught of... he passed away right when the onslaught of our new experience of TV shows came up.
Yep.
And it's not my place to ever say anything that I've heard at someone's gravesite. Be at peace. After all they've done and what they believed, I hope they're at peace. I hope they're completely like...
Seems quiet and nice. Let's go check out some of these old stones over here.
They're really pretty.
I like lilacs. They're my fave. It's my favorite flower. All right. Well, we came, we saw. On to the next. We figured we were in the neighborhood. We'd better stop by and check out the Warrens' gravesite, you know?
Look at this one. Or, what society?
I don't know.
I know who to ask.
Yeah, like I said, their impact on the paranormal community and ghost hunting at large can't be understated. Whether you agree with their viewpoints or not, they definitely were the OGs for what we do now, modern ghost hunting and whatnot. It's all about how you perceive and how you use it. You know, you got to think about the impact on other people when you make your declarations about what you believe something is. That's a tough line to walk. All right, guys, on to the next. The next one's going to be pretty darn cool.
Their last name is Graves, and they're Graves.
Oh my goodness.
I love it. And now to our final destination, Seaside Sanatorium. Today we are on the Atlantic coast, but we're not going to the beach. Well, we're kind of going to the beach. But you'll notice it's not just a beach, there's a sanatorium behind me, and this is called Seaside. And it's Seaside State Park now, so we're legally okay. You do see a fence as to where you can't go. And it was a tuberculosis treatment center opened in the 30s for kids under 14, and it's a really kind of unique place because what they did was they used heliotropic treatment. Kids would sit out front at the beach and take in sun and sea air, believing that that would help cure TB. And you know, a little time went by. Not too long after that, we got antibiotics, and these types of places were not necessary for that treatment. And it became a geriatric center and then a mental health treatment center, and it closed in '96. And I thought it had closed way earlier than that until I, did a Google, and that's why this building is, I think, in really decent condition. It's a beautiful Tudor Revival style building, and it's one of the few that's really in this kind of nice condition. And you'll see on there's beautiful detailed brickwork and woodwork that's still there. There's like chalet style railings and features, and it happens to be on the coast of Connecticut. So it's an odd space, and it was more recently that the governor said, we're gonna make this a park, fence it off, and let people use the area. So we're here to show you the area. Welcome to Seaside. Of course, if you thought we were just going to let you fly over this incredible, exquisite old abandoned sanatorium without talking about any of the paranormal activity, you'd be wrong. Of course, there's things that have been reported to happen here, and they make a lot of sense per the place, the history, and the environment. The most notable activity are shadows emerging around the buildings and even inside them to those who've been able to breach the walls. The sounds of children laughing and playing have also been heard, which makes sense for a place that housed kids under 14. EVPs and disembodied voices are also heard in and around the whole area. Hey, hi, hello there. I wanted to try something a little different at this location, so I brought my tarot deck and pulled 3 different cards with 3 different prompts, and wouldn't you know it, they all came up in the suit of water. That's very appropriate for being at a beachside location, literally facing the water. As with our other Eerie New England series videos, the full interpretation is available on our website, fulldarkprose.com. And the link to the tarot reader that I was inspired by is in the description. Alright, there are buildings over there, so we're gonna find them. It looks like it's kind of lifting a little bit, but not much. It would be easy to paint this location in the light of a Silent Hill type of vibe, but there's more to this location that's far more beautiful, historical, and intriguing to experience.
So we've seen enough of these types of complexes to know this is likely the house the nurses stayed in. It's a little too big for a single family, and it's a little too small to be a part of the main complex, plus it's kind of away from the main complex, so we'll confirm that later. We can't go inside these buildings, but we can look inside. Wow, that's a beautiful fireplace.
The other side of Seaside Park was buried completely in the fog as we arrived that morning, and as it slowly lifted under the coming sunlight, we were able to see the superintendent's house and even a peek inside. These buildings are exquisite, and being able to experience them firsthand, finally, was so worth it.
This house is in great shape.
Thank you for rolling through creepy Connecticut with us, through decades past legends and lore and beautiful seaside locations. Stay weird.